The history of European expansion into Asia is inseparable from the Portuguese, who were the first to establish their presence in India by sea. Among the many figures who shaped this early phase of Portuguese influence, Francisco de Almeida stands out as one of the most significant. Appointed as the first governor of Portuguese India in 1505, he laid the foundations of Portugal's maritime dominance in the Indian Ocean. His vision, policies, and military exploits not only secured the Portuguese foothold, but also transformed the dynamics of Indian Ocean trade. Appointment and arrival in India. In 1505, King Ferdinand I of Portugal recognized the need for a strong and sustained presence in India. The early expeditions of Vasco da Gama and Pedro Álvares Cabral had revealed both the enormous wealth of the Indian spice trade and the vulnerability of Portuguese interests to established Muslim traders and regional powers. To counter this, the king decided to appoint a governor with a 3-year mandate, backed by adequate troops and resources. Francisco de Almeida, an experienced nobleman and military commander, was chosen for this mission. Almeida was entrusted not only with protecting Portuguese interests, but also with expanding them. He sailed from Lisbon in March 1505 with a fleet of 21 ships and a well-armed force. This was the largest Portuguese armada sent to India at that time, demonstrating the seriousness of the Crown's commitment to secure dominance in Asia. Objectives and military strategy. The newly appointed governor's mission was ambitious. His orders included consolidating Portuguese control in India and disrupting the thriving Muslim-controlled trade network. The Indian Ocean, before the Portuguese arrival, was dominated by Arab, Persian, and Gujarati traders who linked the markets of the Middle East with the spice-rich regions of South and Southeast Asia. Almeida was tasked with breaking this monopoly. His strategy was straightforward yet revolutionary. 1. Establish fortified bases along the western coast of India to protect Portuguese fleets. 2. Control key choke points of the Indian Ocean trade by conquering strategic locations such as Aden at the mouth of the Red Sea, Ormuz at the Persian Gulf, and Malacca at the gateway to Southeast Asia. 3. Develop a naval policy that would allow Portugal to rule the seas and secure commercial superiority. Thus, from the beginning, Almeida's vision was not limited to India alone. It extended to the wider Indian Ocean world. Early achievements and the Blue Water Policy. One of Almeida's most important contributions was the formulation of the Blue Water Policy, also known as the Cartaz system. This was a naval strategy that emphasized Portuguese dominance on the seas, rather than control over vast inland territories. The idea was simple but effective. Whoever controlled the ocean could dictate terms to the land-based powers that depended on maritime trade. Under this system, all merchant ships sailing in the Indian Ocean were required to purchase a cartaz, a naval pass, from the Portuguese authorities. Without this license, ships were considered illegal and subject to seizure. This gave the Portuguese both revenue and control, while simultaneously weakening their rivals' trade networks. The Blue Water Policy symbolized Almeida's broader vision, a Portuguese empire not built on conquering land, but on ruling the waters. This became a cornerstone of Portuguese strategy in Asia and laid the foundation for their long-standing influence in the region. Challenges and the Battle of Diu, 1507 to 1508. While Almeida's strategy was innovative, implementing it was not easy. The Portuguese faced resistance from powerful players in the Indian Ocean. Among them were the Mamluks of Egypt, the Sultan of Gujarat, and the merchants of the Red Sea and Arabian Gulf who saw Portuguese expansion as a direct threat to their centuries-old trade routes. In 1507, a major naval confrontation took place off the coast of Diu, a strategically important port in Gujarat. The Portuguese squadron, commanded under Almeida's authority, clashed with the combined fleets of the Egyptian Mamluks and the Gujarat Sultanate. The battle was fierce, and the Portuguese suffered a significant setback. The defeat was not only a military blow, but also a deeply personal tragedy for Almeida. His son, Lourenço de Almeida, who commanded part of the Portuguese fleet, was killed during the battle. For Almeida, this was a turning point. The loss of his son filled him with grief, but also strengthened his resolve to restore Portuguese honor and establish unchallenged dominance. Revenge and Victory at Diu, 1509. The following year, in 1509, Almeida sought revenge for his earlier defeat and the death of his son. He meticulously planned a counterattack, rallying his forces and securing reinforcements. The decisive confrontation again took place off the coast of Diu. This time, Almeida's leadership and superior naval tactics ensured a crushing victory. The combined fleets of the Egyptians and Gujaratis were annihilated. This battle, often referred to as the Battle of Diu, 1509, was a turning point in the history of the Indian Ocean. It marked the beginning of undisputed Portuguese supremacy at sea and effectively ended Muslim naval resistance in the region. Almeida's victory had far-reaching consequences. It secured Portuguese dominance in the western Indian Ocean, discouraged further challenges from regional powers, and established the Portuguese as a formidable naval force. For Almeida, it was both personal vengeance and the fulfillment of his broader mission. Almeida's dream: rule over the Indian Ocean. Francisco de Almeida's vision extended beyond immediate victories. His dream was for the Portuguese to rule the entire Indian Ocean. He believed that whoever controlled its waters would control the global spice trade and, by extension, the wealth of Asia. Though he did not live long enough to see the full realization of this dream, his policies and victories paved the way for it. The Portuguese, building on Almeida's foundations, expanded their network to include Goa, Malacca, and Hormuz. His emphasis on naval dominance shaped Portuguese strategy for decades, allowing them to maintain influence even with limited manpower and resources compared to the vast populations of Asia. End of tenure and legacy. Almeida's tenure as governor was initially set for 3 years, from 1505 to 1508. However, he remained in power until 1509, when he was recalled and succeeded by Afonso de Albuquerque, another towering figure in Portuguese colonial history. Unlike Almeida, Albuquerque believed in territorial conquest and establishing fortified settlements inland, which sometimes clashed with Almeida's purely naval vision. Despite this difference in approach, Almeida's contributions cannot be overstated. He gave the Portuguese a coherent maritime strategy, avenged their defeats, and secured their supremacy at sea. His policies ensured that Portugal, though a small European kingdom, could dominate the Indian Ocean for more than a century. Tragically, on his return journey to Portugal in 1510, Almeida was killed in South Africa during a skirmish with local tribes near the Cape of Good Hope. His death cut short a remarkable career, but his legacy lived on in the naval empire he had helped create. Conclusion: Francisco de Almeida occupies a central place in the history of Portuguese expansion in Asia. Appointed in 1505 with the task of consolidating power and dismantling Muslim trade networks, he developed the Blue Water Policy, a strategy that emphasized control of the seas rather than inland conquest. His tenure was marked by both personal tragedy and historic triumph. The death of his son in the Battle of Diu, 1507, was avenged by his resounding victory the following year, which cemented Portuguese naval dominance in the Indian Ocean. His dream of Portuguese supremacy over these waters shaped the empire's expansion and influenced its strategies for generations. Though succeeded by Albuquerque, whose conquests shifted Portuguese focus inland, Almeida's contributions remain foundational. His vision of maritime supremacy ensured that Portugal became not just a participant, but the ruler of the Indian Ocean trade. Through his policies, victories, and foresight, Francisco de Almeida left an enduring legacy as the first great viceroy of Portuguese India and the architect of a maritime empire. Thank you for watching my video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.